Alright, so you guys already know who I am, so I'm not going to introduce myself. And you can read my topic, so I'm not going to say that either. So instead, I'm going to start with the best joke in the world. So as you can tell, I'm dressed very nicely today. Appreciate the rainbow shots. It's because I spent years in the closet. Told my sister that joke and she didn't get it, so I'm glad you appreciated it.
I don't even know if I don't get it.
Really? Alright.
Not going to explain it. Anyways, you'll get it in like 5 minutes. Anyways, so my goal of this presentation is I want to make you guys, if you are not already, allies. Which, an ally is somebody who supports gay rights in the LGBTQIA community, which I'll explain what that means, don't panic. And they fight for their rights and they accept who they are. And so that's my goal of the speech. Okay, so first I'm going to go over some really awful statistics because you have to realize what a big problem it is. It's not just that in some states gay people can't get married. There's a lot of other problems tying into it. And all these statistics focus on teenagers, people our age, dealing with these problems. So 64% of LGBT youth feel unsafe at school because of their sexual orientation. 44% feel unsafe because of their gender identity. In total, 86% feel harassed at school. Think about how many people that is. 61% of those harassed never reported attacks. And even those who did, 31% said the school did nothing to help. 32% didn't go to school for at least one day because they felt unsafe. And 28% in total felt like they needed to drop out. Even on the internet, they're not completely safe. 42% have experienced cyberbullying due to their sexual orientation or gender identity. 35% have received online threats. And 33% report sexual harassment, which is 4 times as much as any other youth. 27% report not feeling safe on the internet. But my most shocking statistic of all of these, the one that broke my heart, 30% of all completed suicides are because of a sexual orientation crisis, because they were bullied at school and harassed. That is 2 to 3 times more than any other youth. And if they're not supported by their family, it's 8 times more likely to happen. So, now that you realize it's a problem, I want you to accept it. But I realize a lot of you may not know exactly what you're accepting. What does LGBTQIA even mean, right? So I'm going to explain it. The majority of you in this classroom are heterosexuals, which if you do not know what that means, it's when you like the opposite sex. And you're also considered cisgendered, which might be a new word to you guys, don't panic. It just means that your biological sex aligns with your gender identity. If you were born male, you classify as male. So that's simple. The reason why I know the majority of you are heterosexual is due to a 2013 survey, only 19% of the nation classified as something other than heterosexual. So that's 1 in every 10 people, approximately. So, keep in mind, I got permission to use all these photos. Okay, so one of the most common sexual orientations are homosexuals, which are gay or lesbians. A lot of you probably know what that means too. Gay people, men liking males, lesbians, girl liking girls. That simple. So here's one. I've only known one gay couple, sorry guys. Okay, another really common sexual orientation is bisexual. That's when somebody likes both sex, male and female. So the second half of the LGBTQIA may be a little less well known. One is trans. That refers to transgendered or transsexual, which basically mean the same thing. It's when your biological sex does not align with your gender identity. It's the opposite of cisgendered. And often they'll get surgeries to fix this, as you know, but sometimes they'll just live their life in the opposite sex. They might not be able to afford it, or they just are scared of surgeries. The Q is questioning or queer. Queer's not an insult. I'll explain that in a moment. But first I'll start with questioning. Questioning is exactly what it sounds when you're not exactly sure what your sexual identity is. It could be you might be bi-curious or pan-curious, or you're just curious, you're not classified yet. Queer used to be an insult. Like, it used to be something that I would not be to say right now, but trust me, it's now used as an umbrella term for the whole entire LGBTQIA community, so you don't have to say that mouthful. Next one is intersex, which is a new version of hermaphrodite, because hermaphrodite became a little outdated, so now they prefer the word intersex. And if you don't know what that is, it's when your human anatomy does not align with female or male, like you'll have two X and a Y chromosome, or something along those lines. And then A means a bunch of different things, but they basically have all the same idea. The most common reason that A is used is asexual, which is an individual who has no sexual desires whatsoever. Like, it's just they're not into it. Aromantic is exactly how it sounds, they're not into romance. And gendered, I'll explain when I talk about gender identities. So there are a few sexual orientations that aren't represented in the acronym, but they're still equally important and they're still represented in the queer community. One of those is pansexual, which is like bisexual, but to a greater extent. It's when they're not attracted based on biological sex or gender identity, like they date a trans person or a bi-gendered person, etc. So now that I got the basic sexual orientations out of the way, now to talk about some gender identities. So, like I said, most of you are cisgendered, and that's the most common one, but there's also something called genderqueer, and the two I'm going to talk about is bigendered and agendered. Bigender is when you take both of them. You classify as male and female. Agendered is when you don't classify as a gender at all. Keep in mind, our gender is something that we decide. Our biological sex, you don't decide. Gender, you do, and you express your gender through gender expression. So these individuals, this one, not the guy he's holding, sorry, don't classify as a certain gender. And it's really important, if you ever come across a person who classifies this, ask them what pronouns they prefer. Trust me, just do it. Because sometimes they like fluctuating between he and she, other times they want a singular they, which may be weird when you talk about one person. Like this one, in general, they prefer going by they, which sounds really awkward, but just do it to respect them, because honestly, there's no reason not to. And, okay, and then here are a few photos of allies. I had a lot more than this, but I couldn't fit them all. So now that I went over everything, is there any question? Did I go over anything too quickly for you guys? Any questions you just heard before?
Never mind. I did have a question, but you answered it. Sorry.
Any other, things that you've heard before and you're not sure what it means, you want me to explain? Nope, yep, okay, great. So, like I stated in the beginning of my presentation, I want you guys to be allies. And there's a lot of, I could talk for hours about why you should be, but I'm going to try to summarize it in the quickest way possible. So I'll start with some arguments I've heard why people don't support them. One is it'll ruin the sanctity of marriage. Oh, my stutter. My bad. Which, my response to them is, why do you care about somebody else's marriage? Should you not be worrying about your own? Your own? Shouldn't you be worried?
It's alright, you're quick.
Because in reality, it's really not. I mean, what really ruins the sanctity of marriage is divorce, and we're obviously not going to make that legal, otherwise we'd have a lot of really unhappy people. Another one I often hear is, it goes against my religious beliefs. I have one statement to make to you individuals. In the United States, we have the freedom of religion. That's all I have to say. Another one is that marriage is for procreation, which if you don't know what that means, it's marriage is to make babies. Simple as that. Which is, again, not true, because there are 50-plus-year-olds getting married who are obviously not going to have kids, and there are people getting married that just simply can't have kids. And another one is it goes against nature, which, think about it, guys. Us humans, we do a lot of things that are against nature. I mean, I'm wearing a shirt. We're going to be completely natural. If we're going to be completely natural, then go all the way is all I'm saying. And the last one I hear is, it's simply disgusting. Yep, that's my response. Nothing. Anyways,
Well,
so
but I like your response in your outline.
I forgot what I wrote when Alan.
She said, maybe, I'll wait till you're done. Sorry, I don't want to skip ahead if you were going to do this.
Okay, so in conclusion,
Sorry.
no one should be harassed for their gender expression or who they love. It's as simple as that. Is anyone being hurt if Mr. Davis was gay? Obvious answer?
No.
That's not hurting anybody. And if anyone... I mean, you could be her gay best friend. That's even better than a husband. Okay. Would anyone be hurt if Mr. Davis wore makeup? Well, I can show you. Did that hurt anybody?
When did that happen?
It's a day. It's just one of those days.
That looks like Photoshop. It is. So as you can see, nobody's being hurt by this.
Yeah, I mean.
So why should you be against this? It's not hurting anyone. So how about we stop making a joke of America's phrase, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and actually give everyone their equal rights? That's the end.